You could make a human rights case to invade Canada, not that we should, but if ever there was a people that needed liberation from a government that hates them, it's the Canadians, of course.
Gang, what's up? Aaron, Canadian Looney. Smash the like, hit subscribe. We're going to check in with our man, Tucker Carlson. He gets a lot of things wrong about Canada, but he's got very strong opinions about Canada, no doubt. We're going to check in with Pierre, a step back into the past, where he's grilling Mark Carney and exposing his Chinese connections and affiliations. It's disgusting. Let's get into Tucker Carlson. This should be interesting. Let's kick it off.
Again, have positive influence, some sway over Brazil. And then you think, well, if Brazil's important, what about Canada and Mexico, which are literally on our borders, which are huge energy producers? Canada has far more oil than the United States, far more fresh water than the United States. Canada is the fourth biggest oil reserves in the world. How much do Americans know about Canada? Well, Canada happens to be falling apart as a nation, completely falling apart. It's in a state of domestic chaos. It's become a police state under the influence of China. Canada, the country with which we share the longest border. Our most critical ally on the globe is Canada, the country we ignore. How many Americans know what its capital is or how to pronounce it? Probably under half. Canada is the single most important relationship that we have. It has always been our largest trading partner. But going forward, as American influence recedes to our hemisphere, what happens in Canada matters more than anything else. Maybe we should think about that. Maybe we should try to exert some influence on Canada, not necessarily by force, though by force if necessary. You could certainly make a regime change argument about Canada. Talk about a country that's oppressing its own citizens, killed almost 100,000 of them through its state-sponsored killing program, MAIDS. You could make a human rights case to invade Canada, not that we should, but if ever there was a people that needed liberation from a government that hates them, it's the Canadians, of course. But you could make a case based on self-interest and regional interest, even on decency, to have a lot more positive influence on the internal affairs of Canada than we currently do. Canada's not a sovereign country. It never has been, ever. It's part of the British Commonwealth. Now it's some sort of colony of India and China. It's never been sovereign, and there's no reason that it should be. It should be decent and well run for the benefit of its own citizens. And you could say the same for Mexico. Mexico has brought benefits to the United States. A lot of decent people have come from Mexico. There's a lot of American manufacturing in Mexico, a lot of great vacation spots in Mexico, a lot of great Mexicans. But overall, Mexico has been a massive problem for the United States, both because of mass migration from Mexico, because of the ongoing drug war in Mexico, which has now moved into the United States. There's massive cartel influence in the United States. There are politicians in the United States taking money from the cartels. America is, with every passing day, becoming more like Mexico and not in a good way. Mexico has harmed the United States in a lot of ways, real ways, measurable ways. The migrant crisis, all those illegals Biden let in, they all mostly came through Mexico with the knowledge, in some cases, the cooperation of the Mexican government. That's the behavior of an enemy nation. They don't need to be an enemy, but fixing that will require paying some attention to what happens in Mexico. That's not bad, that's good. That'll be good for Mexico. And it's necessary for the United States. So why is all this relevant now? Because what's happening in Iran is the end of American empire as we understand it. And that's sad. Boo-hoo, empire's dying. But it's not the end of the United States. It's not the end of our influence on other nations, hopefully positive influence. It's not the end of our economy. It's the beginning of a very rough time in our economy, of course. But it's hardly the end of it. What we've been doing for likely your lifetime, if you're under 80, is, well, it's not working anymore. It hasn't actually helped the United States long term. Your grandkids at this point don't have the promise of a better life than you had. So it's not actually a successful experiment. And now it's ending because we've reached the limits of our demonstrated power. We can't open the Straits of Hormuz. The President of the United States said that last night. Someone else do it. So we're done. That's okay. It was always going to end. Hopefully we can get out without a nuclear exchange. But now it is ending. And there's going to be a lot of suffering and sadness as a result of that end, but there is an awful lot of promise. Promise that the United States can act in its own interest, that it can be reasonable, that it will not be governed by deranged people seized by hubris or get way out over their skis and get a ton of people killed. You don't have to occupy countries you've never been to, can't identify on a map. I mean, what we're doing doesn't work, whether you approve of it morally or not. And we're going to do something else. And that something else is starting right now. So the only point is, you could, with wise leadership, turn this to the advantage of the United States and the Western Hemisphere very, very easily. And there's one other advantage to this moment, which is that it has been clarifying. All of a sudden, we know what everybody in authority thinks because they've been saying it, because under pressure, people confess.
All right, gang, if you're enjoying this video, smash the like, hit subscribe. Let's jump into this piece with Pierre, Poilievre, and Mark Carney. Mark Carney is shameless. Let's take a peek.
Mr. Carney, can you tell me the countries from which your company sources the polysilicon that goes into its solar panels?
I mean, off the top of my head, I can't, but I can tell you that a number of the solar arrays, or the main components of solar arrays, and I would come from China, which is one of the largest producers. In fact, is the largest producer in the world of solar arrays.
Yes, that is true. In fact, half of the polysilicon, which is the main raw material used to make solar wafers, is produced in highly secretive coal-powered factories in the Xinjiang region, the same place the communist regime is carrying out a genocide against the Muslim minority. I'm going to quote Reuters here. Quote, some U.S. lawmakers have voiced growing concern that the industry is dependent upon products, specifically the raw material polysilicon, linked to work camps in China's Xinjiang region. The U.S. State Department has made a determination that Chinese officials are perpetrating genocide there, and imports of cotton and tomato products from the region were banned this year. Will you make the commitment on behalf of Brookfield that you will not source any materials from the Xinjiang region?
He's never going to say that.
I'll make the commitment that we will not source materials that have the supply chain that you described, yes.
That's a lot.
So does that mean you will not source any materials for your solar panels from the Xinjiang region?
Well, I think one has to look at, I don't have with me today the exact source, the exact companies and the specifics. So I'm not, if I may, I'm not going to take
if I may.
The reference from a media report and apply it as fact, but certainly ethical sourcing is important to us at Brookfield. Yes.
Well,
he's got a little bit of Trump orange face going on there, right?
That's a nice talking point, but you would think you would know one way or the other whether your materials are, being that you are responsible for environment, social, and governance for this massive $500 billion enterprise, that you would know off the top of your head if the materials were coming from a place known for slavery, genocide, and coal-fired electricity.
What I'm saying, Mr. Poilievre, is I do not believe that that is the case.
But you haven't verified
it. So you've asked me.
He's a man of false belief and bullshit values. Like, Carney is a con man. There's no doubt, guys. Like, he's sinking this country on purpose.
You've asked me the question. Well, I have no reason to believe that it is the case. No.
Yeah. Okay. But you don't know. It just seems astonishing to me that someone who's responsible for environment, social, and governance would not want to guarantee that raw materials for your products are not coming from that kind of a region. And you've just said that the provenance is China. Well, the region in China where this material is produced is the Xinjiang region. So I'm just shocked that you haven't looked into this. It seems like you're concerned.
But he has looked into it. That's the thing. He knows all the answers. He knows what he's up to. Carney is a con man.
More with shareholder profits than you are with human rights and social justice. Your executive, I'm going to ask a question now. Your CEO says that a third of Brookfield's business will be in China within 25 years. China is the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. Why are you moving your resources and your capital to a country that has such intense emissions of greenhouse gases when that's the opposite of what you state is your purpose?
Let's listen to this answer. Let's give Carney a chance.
Well, to be clear on the specific, my role at Brookfield, which is to develop a strategy, which we are developing, which is to invest in companies, remove and eliminate greenhouse gases. So that's the impact, that's the transition approach. So what one does in that situation, if you may follow, is you go to where the emissions are and you convert dirty activities to green activities. And in fact, this is I believed when I accepted the invitation was the focus of this this committee is how we could do it for Canada. And so Brookfield is
so anyway
working. What I'm doing,
I don't think I'm getting an
representing.
answer here.
If I may,
such a spoiled
you
brat.
have plenty of time, sir.
May I
please go on to my next question?
Well, actually, I wouldn't mind. Rather than having your characterization of what I do, being allowed to give what I do, the facts of what I do and what my responsibilities are. And my responsibilities at Brookfield are developing a transition fund, which we think will be world leading, which is to help.
And I'm commenting on the impact that has on human rights around the world, sir. That's the point. And so I'll conclude.
Greenhouse gas emissions.
A final question. A final question. An ethical way. Thank you. Do you believe that the Chinese government is perpetrating a genocide on the Uyghur people? Put shareholder profits aside and just focus on humanity here for a moment.
I focus on humanity. I spend
so yes or no?
Time focused on humanity, which
yes
is
or no?
dedicated to my.
Yes or no?
I'm deeply concerned by the situation and with the.
Yes or no?
Thank you very much, Mr. Poilievre. Unfortunately,
shareholders first, protecting the.
Give me a break.
Oh yeah.
We're going to wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Canadian Looney, smash like, hit subscribe. We covered Canadian federal politics. Get yours right here. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Ciao for now. Let me know in the comments what you think about Tucker Carlson and our Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Oh gosh, what a mess. Ciao for now.